I wish you all a very warm welcome to today's episode of Lab Technology Tuesday. Today we are talking about the innovations at the moment of May 2020. My name is Christian Illenseer. I'm a product manager at Lab and I'm responsible for the Etherline cabling. So basically everything that is a passive component, the cable-wise, that is transmitting the Ethernet protocol is being taken care of by me. And together with three other product managers from Lab, I'm going to present to you what we have available as a new product for this year on the current status of May 2020. I would kindly tell you that this webinar is being recorded and we are going to have a questions and answers session right after the presentation slides. So in case you have any questions to one of the products, please feel free to send them via the question function of the GoToMeeting tool, and we will take care of any uprising questions afterwards. All right, without any further ado, I would suggest that we start. Okay, today we're going to present to you some new products and innovations from three different brands of Lab. We are going to talk about innovations from Ölflex, the control cable segment. Then we're going to talk about the Etherline segment, which is taking care of active as well as passive components for the Ethernet technology. And then finally, we are going to talk about marking systems, which is under our FlexiMark brand. Today's presenters, alongside joining me, are going to be Mrs. Jessica Weiss. She's a product manager for the FlexiMark solutions, as well as Frank Hörtnagel. He's a product manager taking care of our Ölflex range. And alongside joining is also Mr. Jürgen Greger. He's a product manager also for the industrial communication. He's especially responsible for our active components, our Etherline Access switch series. All right, and I would suggest that we start immediately with Frank.
Yes, I'm here.
Great.
Hello, everybody. My name is Frank Hörtnagel. Also from my side, very warm welcome to the Ölflex part, to the Ölflex innovations. So let's start with the first new product, with the first innovation. It's like the name is program. It's a multi-talent Ölflex Power Multi. So this is a UL power cord for unprotected usage. What that means, I will explain some slides later. And of course, when we talk about UL cables more and more, it's important to have UL listed cables. And especially this new cable, the Ölflex Power Multi, has a new listing which we never had before for our standard cables which we have in our global product catalog. So let's go to the next file, okay? Ölflex Power Multi. Maybe you know sometimes it's hard to export machines to the North American market. There are very complex standards, different kind of standards for machinery building, standards for the buildings, and for outdoor, indoor installation and so on. So nevertheless, the US market and also of course the Canadian market, the North American market in total is one of the most important market also for the Lab Group. So we established, I think it was in year 1976, a subsidiary there, and so also that cable, the Ölflex Power Multi, is produced from that subsidiary in USA, and we have it since a couple of years also in our product range in US, but we decided to transfer it now also to our global standard range, because it's a very interesting cable where we've get in the past more and more inquiries, because as I said before, sometimes the standards are very complex. Also the machine builders, they do not all the time know which kind of cable they have to use, that finally the UL inspector approves it in US or elsewhere. And since decades we are offering UL cables, in the beginning they were only AWM recognized, where you have to put it in the machine, for instance here in Germany, then call the UL inspector, he checks the cable and he checks the machine, the installation, and certifies the whole machine, including the cables. But if you want to build or install your machine park directly in the field in US or in Canada, so it's sometimes not possible to use AWM recognized cables, especially not when they are laid in cable trays which are belonging to the building standard. Therefore, we offer since also many years, for instance, UL listed cables like our Ölflex Control TM, or also like our Ölflex Tray 2, where are listed for tray cable use, exposed run for fixed installation in the tray, and also directly into the machine. But more and more inquiries were sent to us that sometimes the customers or our partners, they had problems with UL inspectors, because they said the cable which is running out of the tray to the machine, the distance is too far, so 5 meters or 10 meters, it's not allowed to use their UL TC ER cables anymore. So therefore we launch now this new cable, Ölflex Power Multi, which have additionally to the TCER listings also a so-called STOOW listing. It's a service entrance cord, and this kind of cable is also especially approved for extra hard usage. So you can use that cable in your plant or in your machine park for wiring the machine over the cable tray, and then also, and that's very important, unprotected to the machine, also to your for instance robotic, or to your transfer line for unprotected use. And that's not possible with a normal TCER cable. Another advantage is you can also use a STOOW listed cable for handheld use, or also for mobile appliance use, for flexible use as well, which is also not possible with the standard TCER cables. And normally such STOOW cables are normally available in US everywhere, but not in Europe, for instance, and also I guess in Asia or elsewhere. And so we said, okay, if a machine builder likes to have AWM cables as well as UL tray cable listed cables, and asks also for such service entrance cables to satisfy the UL inspector, then we should also keep it in our standard range. Yeah. So the technical features are like you say, like you can see here under technical product features. It's a special have a special formulated thermoplastic polymer, and therefore we have additionally the extra hard usage characteristic, which allows contact with oil. It's highly oil resistant according OIL-RES 1 and OIL-RES 2. It's also UV resistant, sunlight resistant, is printed also on the jacket, so you can use it also outdoors without problems. And finally, also extra hard usage, you can put it also directly into ground. Yeah. So therefore it's tested according UL 1277 for direct burial. So all these features makes that cable really to a multi-talent, and so we call it also Ölflex Power Multi. Yeah. And the main difference to all other cables is that it is really flexible, usable for exposed applications, not only for cable tray and fixed installations or protected installations. Okay. So let's see here maybe only what is the main from AWM listed and also double listed. When we look here in the left corner, we have a so-called AWM recognized version, Ölflex 191. So this is the basic UL cable where you can install into your machine, but it's not possible to put such cables into a cable tray because of only the AWM style recognition mark. It's also not possible to put such cables outdoors as well. It's also not possible to use such cable for handhelds or as service entrance cables for mobile machines or mobile application or appliances. So if you want to install your plant or your machine park directly in US over cable trays and so on, you have to move to UL listed cables like our Ölflex Control TM, which we have since years in our standard catalog and standard range. But if there is some part in the machine park where you have to go out of the tray, maybe for flexible use or some meters, up to 10 meters, unprotected way to the next machine, then also you have to move from Ölflex Control TM, which have a lot of listings, to the Ölflex Power Multi for unprotected use as a service entrance cable. That's the main difference to the Control TM listed cable and to the AWM, of course, to the AWM recognized Ölflex 191. Okay. Let's go from UL listed to UL AWM. Ölflex 409 CP, a screened control cable for harsh applications with high chemical and mechanical stress. So a couple of years ago, I think 3 or 4, we already launched the unscreened version, the Ölflex 409P, also with a black PUR jacket and also with UL AWM approval for use in the North American market. And so this is now the screened version as a supplement also to the non-UL approved Ölflex Classic 415 CP low-cost version. Okay. I will describe it or the details more on this slide. So maybe you already know our PUR control cable range from the Ölflex part. There we have a lot of different kind of cables. Some are halogen free but not flame retardant. Some are flame retardant. Some have UL. This is always a question of costs, of course. When you have, for instance, when you check our Ölflex Classic 415 CP cable, it's a gray non-UL approved version without flame retarder. So therefore, with that product, we really focus only on the cost. But nevertheless, if you or your end customer likes to have a UL approved cable or a flame retardant cable, then you have to switch from classic 415 CP now to the new Ölflex 409 CP version, which fulfills all those characteristic. Flame retardant, UL approved. Also, it's black. So black, if you ask me, black always is the best jacket color for installation outdoors or under sunlight or UV light. Of course, it's possible that you also use a gray or a yellow PUR cable outdoors. But what can happen after half a year is that your color of the jacket fades out and turns into white or some color like that. And of course, the mechanical and the chemical characteristics are already there, but it doesn't look nice. So if you plan to use a cable outdoors, better is always using a black cable, in this case a black polyurethane cable with the Ölflex 409 CP. It will stay also black after many years due to a black carbon which is mixed into the PUR blend. So that makes the cable fit for appliances and apparatus building, of course for instrumentation, control and automation, and due to the UL recognition mark, also suitable for the North American market. And from the voltage class, we have the normal IEC class 300-500 volt, but we managed it to get also a 1000 volt rating with the UL recognition, with the AWM recognition, instead of the usual 600 volt. So also with those 1000 volts, the application range widens a lot. So also we decided not to use inner jacket under the screening, under the copper screen braiding, to save space and weight, because so the cable is getting much thinner, the outer diameters are thinner than compared to a cable having an inner jacket. Nevertheless, the screening, I think I don't have to explain for what the screening is. It screens the cable from, for instance, not very well grounded switchgear cabinets or not well grounded motors, and also it protects maybe data cables which are installed near to control cables to get interfered by electromagnetic interference. Okay. So when we check our screened Ölflex PUR control cable range, so at once the Ölflex 409 CP have the second position right after Ölflex 440 CP. That's our premium outdoor or all-round version, a cable which fulfills everything. It's flame retardant, cold flexible down to -40 degrees. It's halogen free and VDE certified and so on. But right after our premium version is the 409 CP located due to its AWM style, which is not covered by 440 CP, and also with its UV fading resistant black jacket. Followed by position 3, classic 400 CP. That's really our flagship, but without UL, and of course also not flame retardant to reduce costs. Same is with the screened version, which I explained before. The Ölflex Classic 415 CP, also really focused and trimmed to save costs. No UL and also no flame retarder inside, which also can double the price of a PUR blend very easy. Okay. let's make a jump from control cables, from the power multi-control cable and the Ulflex 409 CP control cable to the so-called servo cables for servo motors. I have here a principle of the so-called servo loop, a conventional servo loop on the left side. You always have a controller, you have a frequency converter, here shortcut with FC, and you have finally the servo motor. Therefore, since years or decades, you have to use two kind of cables, the orange cable to empower the servo motor, which is controlled and powered by the frequency converter, and the green cable, the feedback cable, or also encoder cable, resolver cable, which you need to connect the feedback system, which is integrated in the servo motor with the frequency converter to inform the frequency converter about the position of the motor shaft, about the speed, the direction, and all other kind of that stuff. And up to the last 40 years or 20 years, you have to normally wire your servo loop with that two kind of cables, with the green and the orange one. But now it was, I think, 6 or 7 years ago, more and more one so-called one cable solutions or one cable systems entered the market. So there is a company called SICK Stegmann, and they developed together with the drive manufacturer Beckhoff together the Hyperphase DSL system, and they integrated the green, if you like to say, the green cable in form of only one data pair into the orange cable, and the outcome was the Ölflex Servo 7 DSL, which we introduced 5 years or 6 years ago as PVC version for static use, as well as power chain cable for drag chain use for high accelerations. And so the benefit is clear. You only need one cable. What are the other benefits? You save a lot of space. Yeah, the motors can be designed a little bit smaller. You only need one connector on the motor, less cables, less connectors. Also, cost cutting due to simple and fast installation. Error reduction due to installation, of course. But the main feature for the machine builders and for the designers of the machines is that you really save a lot of space. That you can reduce the weight of the power chains. You can also reduce the size of the power chains. Also, the whole machine is not full from above to the top with cables, with green cables and so on, with orange cables. So the whole machine park looks much more nicer if you have not so much cables. That's not so good for us because we want to sell also in future a lot of cables, and so the green cable is a little bit now in the background. But also when you visit fairs, exhibitions and so on, you can see more and more machine builders which are using this technology, the one cable technology. Of course, Hyperphase DSL from SICK is well established since a couple of years on the market, and therefore we have now a third version on the market. Okay, it's called Ölflex Servo 3D 7 DSL. So FD stands for flexible and durable for power chain, and 3D is, of course, for three-dimensional movements. In industrial robots, up to plus minus 180 degrees per meter. So especially for hyperphase DSL, or now also since I think 3 years open also for SCS open link interfaces. Because we have a lot of experience with the 7DSL for static and for power chain use. The more this system is establishing in the market, more and more customers are also asking for a cable for torsional stress, and therefore we developed and want to introduce now the Ölflex Servo 3D 7DSL. Okay. So like the Ölflex 409 CP, this cable also is jacketed with a PUR blend. So it's cut resistant, abrasion resistant, UV resistant, highly oil resistant, and also the best cable for torsional stress, the best jacket material which you can use for such an application. Every cable we design or we develop, we always try, of course, to put a UL or a CUL for Canada AWM style on it, that also we can use it and offer it for the North American market, of course. This is also fulfilled here for the Ölflex Servo 3D 7DSL. And also the black PUR combined with the polypropylene and fluoropolymer insulation makes the cable proper also for outdoor use. Yeah. Or as well in oily areas of machine tools or transfer lines, this cable is really suited for. Where is the difference to the FD version? There is really a big difference to the design of the stranding of the cores. So FD, Ölflex FD for power chain normally have very short lay lengths, which makes the cable much more flexible, but not the best in robotic applications where you have torsion, axial torsion. Therefore, you have to strand in a more long lay length that the cable can turn 180 degrees to the left and 180 degrees to the right. Also, maybe you have seen it already that this 3D version is not braided like the 409 CP before. It has a spiralized copper spinning as a screen over the cable stranding, also to withstand the torsional movements. So this is where we have really a big experience in robotics, and which we can also now offer for that typical application. Okay. So as I mentioned before, we have since 5 or 6 years Ölflex Servo 7DSL cables in our range. We have Ölflex Servo 7DSL for typical fixed or static use. Here with PP insulation and PVC jacket. We have our Ölflex Servo FD, flexible durable 7DSL for high dynamic power chain use with a polyurethane jacket, UL approval, minus 40 degrees, and so on. And now very new and already on stock, Ölflex Servo 3D 7DSL for three-dimensional robotic use. Completely different designed as the FD version, as the power chain version, but also usable and suitable for power chain use. You can use the Ölflex Servo 3D 7DSL in robotic for torsional movements and also for power chain use with bending movements. And I think you know robotic application always is a little bit of both. You have in robotic applications bending and torsion at the same time, and so this cable is designed for. Okay. Okay. I've talked a lot about hyperphase DSL, which were established or founded or developed by Sig Stegmann and Beckhoff. But what about the other big companies, big drive OEMs like Siemens or SEW, Bosch Rexroth, and so on, B&R? They were a little bit late, but finally 1 or 2 years ago, they launched also their own one cable systems, one cable solutions. For instance, Cynamics S210 was launched, I think, 1.5 years ago on the SPS here in Germany by Siemens. We have also MovieLink DDI from SEW, Ecopos P3 from B&R, Accuralink also by Hengstler. And the thing is that you can't use for those systems the Ölflex Servo 7 DSL. It doesn't fit because for every single system you need your own cable. Okay. That was the reason that we started to develop Ölflex Servo FD 7 OCS. OCS stands in this case for one cable solution, because 7 years ago or 8 years ago, when we started the development for Ölflex Servo FD 7 DSL, we didn't know that maybe 7 years later, all other companies, motor drive OEMs, will also establish or will also launch their own system. So in this case, we decided that we put all those different kind of systems under one name, under the FD7 OCS. FD, you know already, for a flexible, durable power chain use. So we do not offer a static PVC version for all those OEM interfaces, only the power chain version, but also if you like to, you can also use that version as a static version, of course. Yeah. Okay. Ölflex Servo FD7 OCS, as I said before, is for different kind of OEMs, drive OEMs, in this case Siemens, SEW, Hengstler, and B&R. You can also see here right above the cable, the cable design looks very different each to other. So we have, I think the first one, I think is the first one is the Ecopos. Second is Accuralink. The third is Cynamics, and the last with the coaxial core, with the purple coaxial core, is in this case SEW. So all these cables, also like the 3D version for torsional application, like the 3D 7 DSL. Also this version have a PUR jacket, of course with UL AWM, usable everywhere all over the world, but also for US market and Canadian market. It's of course abrasion and oil resistant, like it's usual for PUR. Of course for outdoor use, indoor use, but I think more interesting is the highly oil resistance, which is here in machinery lines more important than outdoor use. And the benefit, I think, of the cable is clear. It's the whole system. I think machine builders have to decide in future more and more if they like to go ahead with the the conventional servo loop, or also with the one cable solution to save space and weight, have a clean looking machine, maybe only with orange cables. So I think that will need time. So we have the products already, we have the cables for it, mostly on stock. Selected article numbers are on stock, and so we're ready for delivery, and we have made quite good experience with some of those versions, and let's see which next version will establish next to the Hyperface DSL solution on the market. Okay. Once again, especially for the power chain and for the moved cables, we offer now Ölflex Servo FD7 DSL. For torsional stress, we have the Ölflex Servo 3D 7 DSL, and very new also now for all other upcoming one cable solutions, we're offering Ölflex Servo FD7 OCS for Accuralink Cynamics S210 Acopos or MovieLink. The properties or the characteristics from all three cables are nearly the same. PUR, abrasion, oil resistant, of course cold flexible. Not all are halogen free, I see. The 3D version, the reason is that we have to use here fluoropolymeric core insulations and foils, which are not halogen free. But I think this is not a most wanted feature here. And that was my part from the Ölflex. Okay, and I like to overhand to Mr. Greger. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Frank. Also welcome from my side. My name is Jürgen Greger. I'm the product manager for the ESA-Line Access product series, which contains switches and more. So let's take you through a quick tour into the access components. First of all, I'd like to introduce you the so-called NAT firewall. This is a very smart product which brings up the major two features of NAT is network address translation and firewall features. Overall, you can see on the picture on top, the port 1 is a WAN port, which is providing layer 3 communication, and the three beneath RJ45 ports, they provide layer 2 communication. That's kind of switch. This product is uniquely, or all these product series here, is a portfolio extension of our ESA-Line Access portfolio, and especially this kind of products, they are uniquely compact size. So means from a mechanically outer view, you'll never find a more compact product up to now in the market. The NAT firewall in general is produced or made for quick and easy implementation of machines, serial machines especially, into customers' networks. Means imagine your customer is running already an Ethernet network for sure, and your customer or yourself, you're producing machines in your factory, and someday you'll send it out to the customers, but it won't work immediately just by plugging a patch cord to the machine and to the customer's network. You have to adjust either all the IP range inside the machine to adapt it onto the IP range of the customer's network, or I'll just use this NAT firewall. Inside there is a web interface you can log into and make a relation table of one IP address to another, even if it will be a higher IP address like 10.10.1.10, for example. Usually inside machines we have these private network addresses like 192.168, blah, 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 something else. Besides of just translating IP addresses, we come into the situation on customer sites where customers only provide us with one single IP address. Then the basic NAT function will not bring you much further anymore, but in this case, you could use the port forwarding, which is also on board of this device. In general, this device is made for use on a DIN rail, and you can use it wherever, in whichever cabinet, but it's very, very suitable for use in decentralized cabinet where you have limited space. From a temperature point of view, we see the temperature range is quite wide, from -40 to +75 degrees Celsius, which should bring you into a very comfortable solution. Under the bottom line, one last thing, this product range, this compact size products, they are all made in Germany. So maybe this brings a benefit to you. Okay. Another 3 products out of this compact size range is our Profinet products, our Profinet switches. It's 3 of them, 4, 8, and 16 ports. So we provide also very high port density. When I say Profinet, we talk here about Conformance Class B, which is the real Profinet. And for usage with the TIA portal, they are absolutely suitable to be used with the TIA portal of Siemens. You can download from our website the GSDML files. So it's 100% usable in the Siemens environment, these products. They come up with, for example, neighborhood detection, the LLDP. They can also be configured over a web interface, but it's not a must. You can use the TIA portal. Similar here, very compact size. You can use them on a DIN rail. Also, those are made in Germany, similar temperature range from -40 to 75, like the NAT firewall before. Next slide, please. Last but not least, out of this compact size range, we have also some unmanaged switches for you. Here we have a port count of 5, 8, or 16 ports. And here in the 16 port switch, the port density is even higher than we have seen on the Profinet switch. So this products are so compact, you cannot imagine. I mean, you can imagine maybe because RJ45 ports are standardized, so you can roughly imagine how compact these products are. The 8 and the 16 port switches, they bring another nice feature with them. They provide the Conformance Class A, which brings you into the opportunity to use them inside Profinet networks, even if they are unmanaged switches. yeah, we could realize this also with LLDP and PTCP blocking, for example. So these are suitable for use in Profinet environments. Except the 5-port, this does not bring this opportunity. Also here we have a compact size switches. This is made in Germany, DRAM mounting, and also comfortable temperature range. The unmanaged goes from -25 to 75 degrees Celsius. Next slide, please. From a standard size point of view, we also extend our portfolio significantly, which you might know we already have launched our 5 and 8 port unmanaged and 6 and 8 port managed switches. Here on that slide, back to the last slide, please. Thank you. Here on that slide, we see the unmanaged switches, which are now a 16-port switch. On the left side, you see in the middle the PoE switch, providing 4 PoE ports with 30 watts, is the so-called PoE Plus, and 1 data port as an incoming port. Last but not least, we also have the Gigabit 8-port switch, which provides you with full gigabit and also is able to transmit the jumbo frames, for example, if it's used with a high density camera. All these unmanaged switches, like the 5 and 8 port, you might know already, they provide a temperature range of -10 to +60 degrees, except the PoE switch, who provides -40 to 75 degrees. The reason is quite simple. PoE switches sometimes are getting used in outside cabinets, or not outside cabinets, but outside central cabinets, and therefore they need a higher temperature range. Now we come to the last slide, please. Last but not least, we also add some managed switches to our portfolio. Here you see 2 of them, providing 8 RJ45 ports with 100 megabit data rate, and also providing 2 fiber ports with SFP interfaces. We have 2 switches because here we have one with 100 megabit SFP ports and the other one is providing 1 gigabit SFP ports. Besides of that, we provide for sure redundancy and ring redundancy features. You can configure these products like the managed switches we already have in our portfolio over a web interface. They bring by standard Ethernet IP and Modbus TCP protocols, provide redundant power inputs, and also a -40 to 75 degrees Celsius temperature range. So if you have any questions related to the switches, please ask them after our webinar. I'm at the end of my section and will like to hand over to Christian Illenseer.
Thank you very much, Jürgen, for the overview over the active components of our Etherline Access with all the upcoming changes and additions. And now my part is beginning, where I'm going to talk a little bit about the cable side again. We're going to talk about the new encoder cable for the Etherline brand. And when you listened closely or carefully beforehand, Frank already told you some facts about the servo loop, and this cable also goes in hand with the topic of servo cabling. So this closes basically the servo segment of Frank, so to say. So what do we have here? We have the new cable. It's it's called the Servo Drive Click FDP Cat5e. What we have here is a servo feedback cable, which is compatible to the open drive click interface provided by Siemens. And we are able to have a simultaneous power and data supply over separated cores. If you look closely at the cross scheme of the cable, the cross section, you can see in the upper part the red and the black cores. This pair is responsible for the power supply, whereas the other two pairs are responsible for the seamless data transfer according to the Cat5e standard. Exactly. This, of course, results in a reduced cabling effort on the side of connecting your servo drives. And we developed this cable with an especially highly flexible cable construction with additional filling elements for a maximum strain relief and also maximum robustness of the cable, which has a PUR outer shaft material. This cable, with its high robust mechanical resistance, results in a very longevity when we talk about highly dynamic application. It's made for drag chain applications, and it has been tested successfully within the testing centers of LAB for more than 5 million drag chain cycles. So if I speak about drag chain cycles for a data cable here, I want to put emphasis on that we not only test for the continuity of the core, so we don't just test our cables for a core breakdown, but we are having much higher standards. We are testing for the data transmission performance. So basically what we are doing is, while the cable is performing up to 5 million and more cycles within the drag chain, we are continuously checking the data transmission and seeing the behavior of the cable with regards to the data transmission related parameters. So when we are telling you this cable is made for more than 5 million drag chain cycles, it's really a high quality standard that we are setting here. It's also certified for the North American market. It has a UL recognized AWM style, so it can be used as appliance wiring and can be used also in machinery for the North American market here as well. It is to be used within Siemens Dynamics S120 systems, and it's basically connecting our control panels with the synchronous motors as well as encoders, rotary encoders. Exactly. Another thing, a big benefit that we are offering as LAB for this kind of application for drive click is that we also provide not only the meterware, we are also able to offer the assembled solutions. So this means that we have a connector attached to both sides at the end, which is being provided by us as well on different lengths. Okay, that's it for the servo drive click. I will now hand over to Jessica, and she's going to tell you the latest news for our Fleximark marking systems brand.
So hello everybody from my side. My name is Jessica Weiss and I'm responsible for Fleximark marking systems. Today I would like you to introduce our new product, the Fleximark panel strip. It is used for component marking in the electrical industry. The material is made of polyester and therefore has a good UV and chemical resistance. It is self-adhesive and can also be used for our character holders. So it depends what you like. The panel strip is delivered on a roll with 50 meters and can be ordered in 3 different sizes and in the colors yellow and white. You can cut the labels into pieces as you like. So you're able to label, for example, cabinet components or electronic panels. simultaneously. So no one-by-one labeling is necessary, and that saves time and costs. You can print the label with our thermal transfer printer, for example, the EOS 5 or the Squix. And with our new FlexiMark software 11.0, it is easy to create such modules, as you can see on the pictures, because there is a new module function in the software integrated since the last SPS fair. I think those are the most important points about our new product. And now I would like to hand over again to Christian.
Thank you very much, Jessica. We're